Something unexpected occurs inside our muscles as we age. Even with a healthy diet and regular exercise, we begin to lose our ability to stay hydrated. Our cells quit retaining water, not because we aren't drinking enough of it. The problem is that weak muscles are the result of dehydration. They shrink more quickly, recover more slowly, and cramp more. That is the manifestation of sarcopenia. Indeed, dehydration is a contributing factor in your muscle loss. However, there is an easy yet effective solution. Modern longevity science supports one adjustment to your daily water intake that can significantly enhance the way your muscles absorb and utilize water. It's also not some sweet sports drink or gimmicky electrolyte packet. Actually, the majority of people completely ignore it. I'm Dr. David Sinclair. Hello? Today we will discuss the science behind muscle hydration after the age of 60, and the one element you can start using in your water right now to maintain the biological youth, strength, and suppleness of your muscles. Let's get started. Many of the physical changes we experience as we age, such as weariness, decreased muscle mass, and slower recovery, are attributed to aging itself. However, one important factor that is frequently disregarded is cellular dehydration. Dehydration is often thought of as just not drinking enough water. Age-related dehydration, however, is actually much more complicated and starts at the cellular level. Your cells could not be efficiently retaining water, even if you consume 8 glasses of it daily. We refer to this phenomena as functional dehydration. And after the age of 60, it's extremely prevalent. Here, it's not simply your water intake that's the problem. It refers to how well your cells are able to hold on to that water and use it in the tissues, muscles, and organs where it is most needed. And regrettably, practically every technique your cells utilize to stay hydrated is impacted by aging. Please let me know where you're coming from today before we begin. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have and leave a comment below. Additionally, remember to click the subscribe button and enable notifications so you don't miss any of Senior Health Tips' top health advice. And I want to know whether you're with me if you're now watching. If this video resonates with you, type 1 in the comments section. If not, type 0. The cell membrane, the outer wall that controls what enters and exits, is one of the most crucial components in this process. These membranes are highly selective, flexible, and responsive in young people. However, they grow less effective in controlling water and electrolytes as we age, becoming more stiff and less permeable. As a result, water cannot enter and exit the cell as easily as it before could. The sodium-potassium pump, a protein incorporated into the cell membrane that actively moves potassium into the cell and sodium out of it, is another essential mechanism. A significant amount of cellular energy, specifically ATP, the energy currency generated by your mitochondria, is used by this pump. Simply put, there is less energy available to power these pumps as we age because mitochondrial activity deteriorates. Additionally, the cell's capacity to balance water and electrolytes is jeopardized when these pumps slow down. The invisible pressure mechanisms that regulate the flow of water between your cell's interior and exterior are known as osmotic gradients. The proper concentration of minerals such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium, both inside and outside the cell, is necessary for these gradients to exist. However, older persons frequently lack these electrolytes because of dietary deficits and aging-related metabolic changes. Even if you are fully hydrated from the outside, cells struggle to pull in and retain water as a result of this breakdown in the osmotic equilibrium. To put it another way, picture your cells as youthful sponges. Those sponges are absorbent and bendable. The sponge gets fractured and stiff with age. No matter how much water you pour on it, it can no longer contain as much as it once did. Why is this important? As more than 75% of your muscles are composed of water. Water is more than a filler. It is essential to the contraction, maintenance, and healing of muscles. It has a role in protein synthesis, nutrition transport, and enzyme activity. All of these activities slow down when muscle cells lose moisture. Over time, the muscle starts to shrink, becomes less able to heal, and is more likely to rupture. Sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss that starts slowly but picks up speed in your 60s and beyond, has this as one of its hidden causes. Furthermore, it affects more than simply muscles. Your brain, heart, kidneys, and every other organ system in your body depend on the right amount of intracellular hydration. Cells that are dehydrated utilize energy less efficiently, communicate less effectively, and sustain damage more rapidly. This eventually creates the conditions for insulin resistance, metabolic dysfunction, and accelerated biological aging. One of the most important discoveries we have made in the field of longevity study is this. It's not about how much you drink to stay hydrated. It has to do with how well your cells utilize the liquids you consume. Unfortunately, especially for older persons, the conventional advice to just drink more water is insufficient. The biological age and cellular hydration are directly related. In fact, because low intracellular hydration tends to correspond with decreased organ resilience, slower repair, and increased susceptibility to disease, researchers are increasingly investigating hydration status as a sign of biological aging. Here's the good news, though. This is not a one-sided situation. We now know that dehydration of cells is not always the result. It's not merely an age-related symptom. It's an indication that your body requires molecular help. Additionally, part of this dysfunction can be reversed with the correct inputs, such as promoting mitochondrial health, restoring electrolyte balance, and enhancing membrane integrity. Long into your later decades, you may support your cells to retain more water, work more effectively, and keep the vigor and strength of youth. This is what modern longevity is all about. Preserving cellular function throughout the body, not just living longer, and staying hydrated is the first step in one of the most basic, yet often ignored tactics. Quality, not just quantity. Making water work for you at the cellular level is the goal, and it becomes even more crucial around the age of 60, when the body's natural capacity to stay hydrated starts to deteriorate. Drinking more won't solve the problem. It's all about drinking more sensibly. Then, starting with the basic act of hydrating your cells, specific tactics like increasing electrolyte intake and strengthening mitochondrial function become tools for reversing the biological clock, because maintaining young begins with a single cell. Protein deficiency and a sedentary lifestyle are not the most common causes of muscle loss beyond age 60. There's something far more nuanced. Low-level, persistent dehydration within the actual muscle cells. Dehydration is frequently thought of as an acute condition. You rehydrate after forgetting to drink enough water, feeling thirsty, and sometimes experiencing lightheadedness. However, many people are unaware that dehydration becomes a chronic cellular level issue after a certain age. Initially, there are no noticeable symptoms. You're not going to pass out from dehydration. Rather, your cells gradually lose their capacity to effectively store and utilize water. Additionally, a rapid deterioration in muscle strength and biological resilience is facilitated by this hidden dehydration. Let's discuss sarcopenia, which is the age-related decrease of strength and skeletal muscle mass. Around age 30, most people start to lose muscle, but around age 60, the pace sharply increases. According to certain research, older persons may lose as much as 3 to 5% of their muscle mass every 10 years. And for many, that means falling, becoming feeble, having less mobility, and having a shorter lifespan. However, this is where staying hydrated is essential. The majority of people are unaware that muscle is primarily made of water. In actuality, water makes up more than 75% of your muscle tissue. There is more to the water than just resting there. It is necessary for all of your muscles' functions, including contraction, repair, protein synthesis, and mitochondrial energy production. Now think about the effects of dehydration on the muscle cell. Enzymatic activity first decreases. Water is the medium in which all repair processes, amino acid transport into and out of muscle cells, and mitochondrial energy production take place. These mechanisms become ineffective or even defective when that medium dries up even a little. Second, a muscle that is dehydrated is more vulnerable to inflammation and injury. Consider the difference between a wet and a dry sponge. The dry one is brittle, prone to tearing, and insensitive to pressure. It's the same with your muscles. They become less resilient and elastic when they are not properly hydrated. The body now finds it difficult to heal micro-rips caused by small stressors like standing up from a chair, ascending stairs, or even walking uphill. Third, there is a breakdown in cell signaling. Water serves as more than just a transporter inside the muscle. It enables biological signals and electrical impulses. Cells that are dehydrated absorb less glucose and amino acids because they are less sensitive to insulin. This affects muscle protein synthesis, which is the process that creates and preserves muscle tissue, in addition to deteriorating metabolic health. This is when things start to get interesting. Dehydration over time produces a vicious cycle. Muscle cells' mitochondria perform poorly when they are dry. Reduced ATP production is a result of poor mitochondrial function. The sodium-potassium pumps, which are essential for maintaining electrolyte balance, are less effective when there is less ATP. Additionally, cells are unable to absorb water when electrolytes are out of balance. Dehydration thus gets worse. It is a spiral of cellular deterioration that accelerates and resembles aging. Furthermore, the effects go much beyond the muscles. The metabolic rate falls as muscle mass does. At rest, you burn fewer calories. Your glucose regulation deteriorates. Insulin sensitivity decreases. Because of this, sarcopenia is now considered a significant risk factor for cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even cognitive decline. Additionally, it impacts independence and mobility, two characteristics of quality aging. You become weaker, slower, and more likely to fall when you lose muscle. In older adults, one fall can lead to a series of hospitalizations, immobility, and even premature death. Therefore, even though it could appear to be simply dehydration, the downstream effects are far from insignificant. Nowadays, when it comes to maintaining muscle after 60, we frequently hear about protein consumption, resistance exercise, and supplements, and all of those are necessary. However, the basis for the success or failure of those tactics is hydration. Protein cannot be used effectively by a muscle that is dehydrated. After training, it is unable to recuperate adequately. Furthermore, it is undoubtedly unable to preserve metabolic stability and mitochondrial health. What is the solution then? Realizing that staying hydrated involves more than just increasing your water intake is the first step. The goal is to improve intracellular hydration, which facilitates the entry and retention of water in muscle cells. This entails promoting electrolyte balance, enhancing mitochondrial performance, and lowering inflammation, which causes cell membrane stiffness and hinders transport. This is where natural acids like lemon juice, sea salt, magnesium, potassium, and mineral-rich hydration become effective tools. They support the pumps that retain water in the muscle cell and establish the osmotic conditions that permit it to enter. When you combine that with regular exercise and enough sleep, the whole hydration scene starts to change. Your muscle cells become biologically younger when they are properly hydrated. They support a higher level of metabolic activity, recover more quickly, and generate more protein. Over time, this results in increased strength, self-sufficiency, and longevity. The true potential of longevity science lies in this: adding life to years, not simply years to life. And safeguarding your muscle mass is one of the most basic approaches to achieve that, not only through diet and exercise, but also by replenishing your cells' depleted water. Although cellular dehydration and the accelerated muscle loss it causes are not among the tenets of longevity science, these minor tactical adjustments made on a regular basis can have a significant impact over time. This is particularly true when we start addressing aging at the molecular level, rather than just treating its symptoms. And one of the simplest interventions is also one of the most effective when it comes to hydration, muscle loss, and mitochondrial function after age 60. Expensive supplements, artificial electrolyte powders, and sugar-filled sports beverages are not necessary. Often, your aging cells require something much more sophisticated: a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon and a pinch of unrefined sea salt. It's not just about taste here. It involves employing natural substances that your physiology already understands and has actually developed to rely on to restore your body's capacity to retain water at the cellular level. First, let's talk about sea salt. Unrefined sea salt has a wide range of trace minerals such as sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and chloride, all in physiologically available forms, in contrast to processed table salt, which is depleted of the majority of its natural minerals and frequently contains chemical additives like anti-caking agents. These aren't just salt. The hydration process that takes place inside your cells depends on these electrolytes. Consider your cells to be little batteries. The sodium and potassium balance both within and outside the cell must be strictly controlled for them to charge correctly. Through a mechanism known as osmosis, this equilibrium enables water to enter the cell where it is most needed. Your body may just pass water through without ever absorbing it if there is poor salt levels or an imbalance. Your cells remain dry even though you drink a lot. Your cell's sodium-potassium pumps deteriorate with aging. Declining mitochondrial function contributes to the inefficiency of the systems that keep this electrolyte balance. Your cells therefore find it difficult to produce the osmotic gradient required to pull water inward. This explains why it might be so beneficial to add a tiny bit of sea salt to your water. It aids in re-establishing the prerequisites needed for appropriate cellular absorption and retention of water. Let's now discuss the lemon. Lemons include citric acid, a naturally occurring substance that promotes your body's Krebs cycle, sometimes referred to as the citric acid cycle, in addition to vitamin C, an antioxidant that shields cells from oxidative stress. Through the production of ATP, the energy currency of life, this biochemical engine drives each and every cell in your body. In older individuals, whose mitochondrial output might drastically fall, citric acid plays a crucial role in promoting mitochondrial activity. Your mitochondria supply the energy your cells require to run vital hydration systems, like the sodium-potassium pump, when they are functioning properly. Put more simply, the minerals in sea salt help the processes that use that energy to draw water into the cells, while lemon improves the body's cellular energy generation. This organic combination enhances intracellular hydration, fortifies muscle cells, and boosts energy levels. Despite having an acidic taste, lemons also have an alkalizing effect on the body, which is another significant consequence. Lemon's metabolism helps buffer blood acid, which can support renal function and lower inflammation, two things that affect how effectively your body holds on to fluids and minerals. What does this entail for muscles that age? Muscle cells perform better when they are properly hydrated. They recover faster, contract more effectively, and are more resilient to the breakdown mechanisms that cause sarcopenia. Additionally, their increased metabolic activity promotes insulin sensitivity and aids in the prevention of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. More significantly, youthfulness is signaled by hydrated muscle cells. They promote independence, mobility, strength, and good posture, all of which are essential for sustaining a high standard of living well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. And it all begins with something as basic as what you have in your glass when you get up. Here's the method. Take a full glass of filtered water when you wake up, add half a lemon's juice, and 1/8 teaspoon of unrefined sea salt before you eat. Drink coffee or take supplements. Drink slowly while stirring. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Actually, the more straightforward, the better. You're not only drinking water, you're creating a good tone for the day's metabolism, prepping your muscles for exercise, and stimulating your cells. There's more. Additionally, this practice promotes adrenal function, aids with digestion, and replenishes minerals lost overnight. Many report feeling more focused, less stiff in the morning, and having more energy all day. Naturally, nothing functions in a vacuum. Hydration needs to be combined with nutrient-dense food, regular exercise, and good sleep. However, this water ritual creates a strong base. It is in line with the ideas of biological resilience, accessible, and reasonably priced. We search for low-risk, high-reward solutions in the field of longevity science, and one of them is this. It could appear nearly too easy. However, nature frequently conceals her most exquisite answers in simplicity. You're doing more than just drinking water when you restore hydration at the cellular level. Your cells are functioning as though they were decades younger thanks to you. Your complete metabolic system, including your muscles and mitochondria, is being supported. By doing this, you're reorienting your biology to repair, regeneration, and vitality rather than decline. This is the hallmark of great longevity. Not tricks or shortcuts, but wise, scientifically supported decisions that strengthen from the inside out. Timing isn't the only factor in the science of aging. It's crucial. Your actions can have an impact that is equal to or greater than what you do. This idea is particularly relevant to muscle preservation, mitochondrial activation, and cellular hydration. Because of this, the time you choose to perform your hydration routine, that is, first thing in the morning, makes a big impact in how your body reacts. Now, let's talk about biology. Your body is famished, exhausted, and slightly dehydrated when you get up in the morning. You haven't eaten or had any drink for the past 7 or 8 hours. Your body keeps working while you sleep. It repairs, detoxifies, digests, and breathes. Additionally, it depletes a significant amount of intracellular electrolytes and water in the process. Your cells are thirsty by the time you open your eyes, not only for fluids but also for the raw elements that are necessary for their operation. Energy substrates, sodium, potassium, and magnesium to stimulate mitochondrial activity. There is an opportunity here. Your cells are more receptive and ready for new growth. The metabolic trajectory of your entire day is defined when you provide hydration at this precise instant, before food, caffeine, or stress hormones overwhelm your system. Here's why this is so important, particularly after the age of 60. First, fluid balance is greatly influenced by the circadian rhythm of your kidneys and adrenal glands. The cortisol hormone starts to increase in the early morning. This is typical. It is one of the things that awakens you. However, cortisol has diuretic properties. It causes the body to release water and salt. You run the risk of starting the day in a deficit condition, dehydrated, dizzy, and physically stressed before you've even eaten breakfast, if you don't take proactive steps to restore fluids and electrolytes before this rise peaks. Not only are you rehydrating when you drink a full glass of water with lemon and a pinch of sea salt as soon as you wake up, but you're also stabilizing blood pressure, controlling cortisol, and preparing your muscles to absorb fluids again when they're most needed. Second, the gastrointestinal tract is stimulated by this early hydration routine. Salt aids in signaling the stomach to release hydrochloric acid, and lemon stimulates the liver to produce bile. These actions promote nutritional absorption, cleansing, and digestion. This increases the likelihood that the nutrients you consume later on, whether they be polyphenols for longevity or protein for muscle repair, will be appropriately absorbed and digested. Let's now discuss mitochondria, which power all cells while they are asleep. You've had your mitochondria in a state of upkeep. They go into energy-producing mode when you wake up, particularly in brain and muscle tissue. They require water, minerals, and cofactors like magnesium and citric acid to initiate the Krebs cycle, the metabolic process that generates ATP, in order to accomplish this effectively. You can help activate mitochondrial function at the precise moment your body needs it most by consuming electrolytes, lemon, and hydration first thing in the morning. Sharper thinking, more stable blood sugar, enhanced muscle activation, and increased endurance throughout the day are all consequences of this. Now, think about what happens if you skip this stage and go directly to food or caffeine. In moderation, caffeine can be beneficial, but it also raises cortisol and dehydrates the body slightly. It increases fluid loss, activates stress pathways, and can actually cause hours-long delays in muscle hydration if taken prior to replenishment. Despite drinking coffee in the morning, this is a secret cause of sluggishness in many older folks. They're adding a stimulant to a system that doesn't have any energy left. Water can be drawn into the digestive tract by food, especially carbohydrates, for processing, further depriving organs and muscle tissue of hydration. This is why it's so important to hydrate yourself before consuming any other food or beverages. In elderly persons who already have a dulled thirst response and decreased renal efficiency, this becomes much more important. Dehydration is simply not as strongly signaled by the body as it once was. You can avoid that dampened feedback loop and deliberately promote systems that are less self-regulating by making drinking water in the morning a conscious practice. There are additional behavioral factors to take into account. You're telling your brain that your body is a priority today when you start your day with something easy, nutritious, and calming, like a glass of lemon salt water. Better choices, greater mobility, better posture, and better eating choices are frequently the results of this tiny effort. This is referred to as a keystone habit in neuroscience, a minor change that triggers more significant behavioral change. Additionally, establishing healthy habits to correct everyday occurrences, like waking up, becomes a potent longevity strategy for those over 60, whose motivation and consistency can fluctuate. Naturally, this does not negate the importance of being hydrated at other times. What, however, offers you the best return on your investment in terms of leverage? The first hour after waking up is the best time of day. In a single motion, you're affecting hormones, digestion, hydration, and even cellular repair processes. Consider it this way. You'll fall behind if you put off drinking water until you're thirsty. You may prevent aging and provide your muscle cells with the ideal environment for growth if you proactively drink water, especially in the morning. Indeed, aging is a biological process, but it also involves velocity. Additionally, momentum begins in the morning. In the realm of longevity science, one glass, one habit, one biological advancement per day. We frequently discuss nutrition sensing mechanisms including M2R and AMPK, DNA repair, mitochondrial health, and the removal of senescent cells. All of them are necessary, but hydration is a more basic and frequently disregarded component of the puzzle that supports each of these biological processes. How well your cells absorb and retain water is just as important as how much you drink. Water is more than just a passive substance that passes through the body. It is life's very medium. It carries nutrition, gets rid of waste, keeps your cells warm, stimulates enzymatic activities, and gives them the structural integrity they need to work. In actuality, without adequate hydration, none of the lifespan strategies we research, including fasting, exercise, and natty plus support, perform at their best. However, the body's capacity to keep cells hydrated deteriorates with age. The total amount of water in the body drastically drops beyond age 60. Lean muscular mass, which has a high intracellular water content, naturally loses some of its bulk, but cellular dysfunction, decreased mitochondrial activity, disrupted electrolyte gradients, and rigid cell membranes are mostly to blame. Essentially, aged cells become less able to retain water. This isn't just a thirst problem. Aging is subtly accelerated by this systemic biological susceptibility. As an example, let's look at muscular health. Over 75% of muscles are made of water. Muscles that are dehydrated become weaker, more prone to injury, and have a lower metabolic activity. Because dehydrated muscle cells absorb glucose less effectively and are less responsive to insulin, they increase the risk of insulin resistance, a defining feature of metabolic aging and a prelude to type 2 diabetes. Furthermore, sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss, results from a dehydrated muscle's inability to produce protein efficiently. Strength isn't the only thing lost. It affects independence, mobility, and balance, and frequently creates the conditions for hospitalization, fractures, and falls. But the benefits of hydration extend well beyond the muscles. Dehydration disrupts neural transmission in the brain. It lowers cognitive function, delays electrical signal transmission, and raises the risk of neurodegenerative illnesses. According to studies, even slight dehydration, just 1% to 2% of body weight, can cause detectable impairments in short-term memory, focus, and processing speed. This deterioration can be substantial for an older adult who may already be coping with age-related neurological abnormalities. Insufficient hydration causes the blood to become more viscous, which makes it more difficult for the heart to pump blood throughout the body. This additional stress has the potential to exacerbate hypertension and exacerbate cardiovascular disease, which is already one of the main causes of death for the elderly. As we age, the kidneys also depend significantly on fluids to function. Particularly when hydration is insufficient, the body becomes more vulnerable to electrolyte imbalances, and renal filtration becomes less effective. Dehydration can further compromise kidney function by raising blood levels of waste products like urea. Hydration affects lifespan pathways even on a molecular level. Water helps proteins and enzymes inside the cell function. Many of these are involved in cell signaling, DNA repair, and the reduction of oxidative stress. These vital functions start to malfunction in the absence of a hydrated intracellular environment. The good news is that, unlike environmental pollutants or heredity, which we cannot always control, hydration is something we can change. We can affect hydration on a daily, regular, and proactive basis. Its consequences are quantifiable, not just in terms of our immediate feelings, less weariness, increased clarity, and higher mood, but also in terms of our long-term biological functioning. However, as we have discussed, increasing water intake alone is insufficient. A supportive dietary and lifestyle background, adequate electrolyte balance, and robust mitochondrial activity are all necessary to guarantee that the water really reaches the cells where it is needed. This explains why basic things like adding lemon and sea salt to your morning water can work so well. They give your cells the minerals and cofactors they need to absorb and hold on to water. This small action serves as the cornerstone for additional longevity strategies in many respects. Staying hydrated makes fasting more bearable. Exercise becomes more efficient and safer. Blood sugar levels regulate, mood and emotional resilience rise, and sleep quality increases. One of the infrequent treatments that affects all of the body's systems is hydration. It works with your biology, not against it, is non-invasive, affordable, and available to nearly everyone. All of this has a potent metaphor. A fragile, dry leaf collapses when pressure is applied. A hydrated person flexes, bends, and adjusts. Your cells are no exception. They become more resilient when they are properly hydrated. They bounce back more quickly. They are resistant to harm. They operate similarly to their younger selves. In longevity research, this is the main goal we aim for. Adding more life to years, not just more years to life. Please let me know where you're coming from today before we begin. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have and leave a comment below. Additionally, remember to click the subscribe button and enable notifications so you don't miss any of Senior Health Tips' top health advice. And I want to know whether you're with me if you're now watching. If this video resonates with you, type 1 in the comments section. If not, type 0. More vitality, strength, clarity, and the ability to live, move, and think fully at any age. Therefore, even while hydration may not appear as glamorous as cellular reprogramming or gene editing, it is just as important. All other interventions function on this terrain. The best part is that you can start right now. 1 glass, a squeeze of lemon, a dash of sea salt, no waiting, no prescriptions, just a tiny step that has significant effects on your muscles, cells, and longevity.